Hello guys, this is Angry African doing my second video. And welcome. You might notice I've got Camtasia to record my cursor. And not only that, I have this cool clicking feature. As you can see when I click, little red balls of fire appear. So yeah, just for reference, this is going to be table 1, the one I'm clicking at now. The one on the right here, table 2, table 3, and table 4. Some people were saying, just to make the action a little more followable. I didn't even realize Camtasia wasn't recording my cursor last time. It's kind of like, oops. But yeah, welcome. I must say I'm very flattered and very thankful. The first video I showed got really good feedback. Everyone seemed to enjoy it, mainly because of the South African accent, not because of the content, of course. But, you know, if you want to make me a monkey in a cage and just make me say stuff to make you feel better, you're welcome to. But yeah, I enjoyed the discussion that happened in the thread on Reddit. People seemed to get quite into it, and I learned a lot from many good players who were giving good advice. So yeah, I'm definitely learning a lot by making these videos and having people comment on my play. That's really great, and it seems that newer players are getting a lot out of this. They seem to enjoy my journey through 20 No Limit. So, you know, that's fantastic, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. For anyone who might be new, you're welcome to go watch my first video. It's not necessary. It's not like this is has any continuation to it. I'm just doing my 20 No Limit sessions, speaking my mind, my thoughts on poker, all that jazz. Definitely going to c-bet here on this board. I've got an overcard, and I don't think he's going to mess with me too much there. So yeah, my general observations of these stakes, as I've said before, everyone is very loose, they play a wide range, they tend to play very badly, and they call very, very light. Because of this, I am going to generally play good hands. I'm not going to mess around. Here, Jonkly 3-bets me. We have quite a history. He is very loose, he's very aggressive, and I've seen him thump pretty poor hands in pre-flop before, so I'm going to 4-bet him. I'm more than happy to stack off with anything he might shove. You see, he 3-bets me again. This time with Queen Jack in position, I'm definitely just going to flat. See a flop. I do flop a queen. And again, this guy is so aggressive, and he's willing to stack off so light in 3-bet pots that I'm just calling down, baby. I'm more than happy just to sit back here and call. So I'm going to do that when he bets kind of biggish. I turn a queen, which is fantastic. This lowers a chance that he might have a queen. And he's not going to give me credit for a queen, I'm pretty sure. Just going to check. See what Jonkly does on the turn. See, what's wonderful about this is I pretty much have a lock on this hand, and he could very easily be bluffing here. When he bets 4, going to tank a bit, and then I'm just going to call. There is a flush draw on the board. I'd be sick if it hits, but it doesn't. And now I'm just hoping he'll bluff off the rest of his stack. Now, if he's got a higher queen, it's just a cooler anyway. It's not a problem. Cardon 3-bets me here. I've got 9s. He's got $2.50 left. It's a very, very easy stack off. It's just a flip. He checks, which means he probably doesn't have anything. So I'm going to do what I call this is a cheap bet. I'm just going to put out $5 just to entice him, because I don't really think he has much. So I think betting the small amount just encourages him to call. He might even spaz out and shove over me with nothing if he thinks I'm full of it. This guy is just so unstable. I do apologize because you haven't really seen me play with him much. So it's hard to kind of explain exactly our relationship. He does call, which is lovely. But he's done some crazy stuff, like 3-bet me with 5-4 offsuit and like triple barrel his whole stack in. You know, when I flop a set. I mean, he's just insane. These are the kind of guys I make my money off in micro stakes. I'm just gonna fold on this. This board is really drawy. I have nothing. He dunks out shuffle big. It's an easy fold. I flopped top pair against this guy. He is a calling station on table 1. So I'm just going to bet out big. Even though it's only a 7 pair, it's still probably good. Yeah, there's plenty of worse hands that can call on this flop, particularly with the flush draw out there and the 8. So I'm going to lead with my 10s. Obviously going to fold to excessive amounts of aggression. if I get raised or such, I'm just pitching my hand. But kind of what I'm wanting to do here is isolate one person with my tens. I think if I just check with these cards on the board, there's an incredibly high likelihood that one of them will outdraw me. So here, I'm just going to check on this turn. I'm essentially practicing pot control. Because Jonkli is spazzy, he might be convinced to take a pot shot on the turn, which he does not. When the king comes on the river, this fully confirms in my mind that I have the best hand, because the odds that he has a king are now very small. So I'm going to bet very big on the river. And again, it's going to be hard for him to give me credit with the king coming off on the river. So I think I very often will get a call here, particularly from an 8, pocket 9s, pocket 7s, that sort of thing. And he does call me yet again. You notice these guys just call. And that's the thing. So not only should you be value betting, but you should be value betting thin. I think it's a mistake, and it's a mistake a lot of newer players will make. And it's just something you tend to learn from experience. But you need to value bet thin, and that means value betting second pair. On a board like that, even though there's a king there, you can't just be like, oh, there's a king on the board. I can't bet. What if he has a king? He might have a king, but most of the time he does not. And the biggest leak that players have here, they are too aggressive with like nothing, and they call way too much. So how do you take advantage of people who are too aggressive and call way too much? Well, you value bet second pair, and sometimes even third pair, and when they're aggressive, you just kind of check and call when you have good hands, like I did earlier against this guy. I just sat there and let him bluff off half his stack. Then of course I did the cheap bet on the river and let him call because again he calls too much. So I think that's a classic example of maximum exploitation against this player Jonkli, who is really terrible and becomes a wonderful way to make money at these stakes. Now, what you really shouldn't be doing, I'm going to bet you there's plenty of draws on this board. I think I have the best hand, so I'm just gonna bet out here. I think there'll be plenty of draws and worse hands I call. River Fox, he's kind of like what I like to call a robot short stacker. When he shoves his turn, he probably has a draw, maybe a jack. He shoves all sorts of hands. More than happy to just snap call that. He's got a jack. So you notice, what is he doing there? Why is he shoving a jack? This play doesn't even make much sense. Probably is a robot, I'm telling you. I have my suspicions. But that's fine. I'll just make money off him. It's cool. No problem. I'm down with that. So actually getting a lot of interesting action and such, and winning money. Last month I had, relative to my other months, a pretty bad month. I ended up not winning very much at all. It wasn't a negative month, thank goodness. It looked like it might be for a while. I managed to pull it out of the hat near the end. But this month I've had an insane heater. I've made maybe about $250 in a few hours of play. At 20 NL, that's freaking crazy. I'm just going to fold in. Ace-3 is not really good enough against a stack-off range. So I've been on a massive heater. That's been pretty cool. Of course, when you're on a heater, you need to be a bit careful. You can't just go and be like, I am god of poker, and start throwing your money around. You're just going to lose it very quickly. You just need to be very measured, very, very paced. Continue to play your hands very well, not get too frisky with these crazy guys. So you see this color here, this teal color? That's my crazy tag. It's like, these guys stack off too light, they call too much, they're too aggressive. You notice there's a lot of them all over the place. And that's great, that's how I make my money. That's cool. Cake poker seems to be really fishy. I really like playing at the site. The level of play is staggeringly bad. Whenever Fox checks, I'm just going to do an experimental bet here and see if he just folds or shoves. And he calls. Interesting. And then he shoves. That seems to be... Let us see if he does this all the time. That'd be cool. Calls flop, then shoves turn. We're going to experiment with that. Of course, with hands that we're willing to stack off with. Because if he does that all the time, we can make so much money. Like if he really is a bot. Like, maybe I'm a terrible human being, but I would never report a bot. I would just figure out its programming and then, just give it the stinky finger and just make so much money off it. Oh, it'd be great. We'll see how that one goes. He's pretty much online all the time. So is Jonkly, though. Jonkly clearly has a poker playing stamina of the gods. The guy is online all the time. I'm jealous. If he played a bit better, he would be really rich. But he doesn't. When Crazy Asian calls on the turn, yeah, he could have all sorts of hands. I'm probably not in good shape, so I'm just going to check. Pretty much happy to give up if he bets his turn. When the ace comes, I'm more than happy just to bet out here. I don't. Basically, it's a kind of leveling situation between me and him. Does he give me credit for the ace? And if he doesn't, he'll call, which he doesn't. And once again, we have a clear example of guys at these limits just call too much. I think I'm gonna make a big solid bet when the ace rolls off. And he's like, you don't have the ace. I'm like, okay, dude, you keep telling yourself that. And he calls, so that's fantastic. So yeah, things are going well for me so far. So yeah, you guys can expect me to be making a lot more videos. I've decided I'm going to be releasing a video. Let me just do these hands quickly. Here I've got a backdoor flush draw, obviously, and 2 overcards, so this is definitely a good board to bet. Here I've got a backdoor flush draw, not much else. I have a backdoor, gut shot here, so I definitely think betting this board is good. I basically have plenty of backdoor equity. Here I'm going to bet again, fairly large, assuming that, again, Jonkly might just not give me credit, he might call too light, so I'm more than happy for him to do that. It is unlikely he has a flush draw, so I'd be interested to see what he's calling me down with, but then, at the same time, trying to think too much about how he plays and what he does, when most of his play doesn't make any sense anyway, and he's not really thinking, or he's not thinking in a way that I can, get behind, he's just insane. So many of these players are just crazy. And because of that, again, just get a hand, and it doesn't really matter if they raise or go crazy. I mean, you've got a good hand, you'll take their money, and otherwise just fold and play conservative. And when you move up stakes and you play more intelligent players that are you can think through their actions and what they're doing, then that's great. You can start getting fancy, maybe. But I've talked to a lot of players at high stakes, and a lot of them are like, look, dude, if you just play, relatively straightforward, you balance a little bit with bluffs and stuff, but if you play relatively straightforward and direct, you're going to do really well. Just don't tilt, don't lose perspective, don't start getting silly with the regulars, and you'll do well. And I definitely think, I think I'm a naturally loose and aggressive player, and I've learned very painstakingly that playing tight and reasonable is definitely a much better course of action. I've definitely got much better results with it. This guy, he stacks with life, very aggressive. Definitely going to call with ace-9 in position. This is an example of a hand where playing this hand out of position, ace-9, is terrible. But playing this hand in position makes it much stronger. Some of the reasons are you can pot control with a hand like ace-9. And so the weakness of your kicker isn't as bad. When Jonkly squeezes, well, I'd love to shove over or, beat my chest. Let's not get silly here. Just going to fold. And here, the board is kind of dry, but these two guys in the pot. They're probably not going to fold. So I'm just going to check and hope to see a free card with my KJ. Which I do, but this board is looking really messy at this point. So I'm more than happy just to fold here now. Table full. But yeah, expect a lot more videos from me. I'm basically going to be releasing a video every 2 to 3 days. And I'm going to be documenting my journey through the micro stakes, showing you guys when I make my shots of 50 no limit, and also showing you my graphs at the end of the month, so you can get to follow me on my up and down swings. Who's that chick? He is one of the most spazzy players I've ever seen in my life. Because of that, I'm just going to 4-bet him big. Because he will get ace-jack in against me. He'll get lots of stupid hands in against me. He's really bad, so I'm happy to be aggressive with him. Ace-queen is the nuts against that kind of player. I've seen him, shove his whole stack in with pocket fours pre-flop. What is that? So definitely a guy I'm willing to be aggressive with my good hands. I don't have to have the best hand in the world against these loose guys because, compared to what they're playing, my hand's much better. I have like the idiot end of the straight here. It's going to bet out because, you know, maybe he has an 8. And you'd be surprised what people call with. It's pretty amazing. You definitely, it's definitely important to bet your hands with value. Get as much value as possible. So yeah, I really did appreciate the discussion, by the way, on the thread and Reddit. People giving their thoughts and insights. There's some good players that were. It's a tricky situation on table 4 because there's so many draws with equity here, and there's so many jacks in his range. I don't think I can profitably bet and call off a shove. I do turn the nut flush draw as well as my pair. My hand looks in much better shape now. So I'm going to be a disaster if he shoves, but I'm going to bet half pot. Kind of just protecting my hand, charging any draws he might have. He does call. I don't really hit anything, and he's not going to fold. So I'm going to check and fold to a shove. And wow, I have the okay. That was the best hand. That's cool. This guy's really bad. I wouldn't normally necessarily flat this, but I'm happy to flop flat 9-8 suited against this sort of bad calling station. I do pick up a flush draw and I hit it, so now I'm just going to bet big on the turn. Hope he's got like an ace. He's not willing to fold. And yeah, cool. Well, nothing really happens there. Yeah, just going to flat. Don't roll point and just shipping it all in against this guy. Rather see a flop. If I hit it, I'm more than happy to get it in against him. Obviously, against short stacks, you know, you flop a reasonable pair, particularly something like an ace. More than happy just to ship it in. He's going to stack off with a king, you'll stack off with an 8. If you happen to have a raise with pocket queens or something, he's stacking off with a very wide range. So you get a lot of value from these guys. In fact, I do make a lot of money from these like random fishy short stackers. They tend to be very bad and stack off with poor hands. But yeah, I appreciated the advice and discussion on the Reddit thread. It was very cool. I'm definitely learning more as a player thanks to very good. I'm just going to flat you with my 10s. I don't think there's much point in 3-betting him here. He's raising from UTG +1, which means his range is reasonably strong. And I'm just going to destroy the value of my 10s by 3-betting. We don't have this crazy aggressive dynamic that maybe me and Jonkly have. So definitely just calling in there I think is better. But yes, I've been definitely learning a lot from the fine gentleman on Reddit. It's nice to get some discussion on hands, have to defend some of your decisions when people are like, well, why are you min raising the button and the cutoff? You know, like what the hell, dude? What it's really doing for my play, which is great, is I'm forced to actually think about why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, and that's great. Definitely some improvements. Someone mentioned I can get a HUD on cake, which I'm going to do soon. Heads up display, very very useful. I used to use one when I played on full tilt poker before Black Friday. Ooh, that was bad. But yeah, you know. So yeah, I'm definitely growing as a player. This guy min raises me, like really like have to call that in position. More than happy to. But you know, I don't really flop anything interesting, so I'm pretty much just happy to check fold there. Fold. I'd be very tempted to 3-bet this line against this winner SSS guy, but like I think he might spaz out on me. He'll probably just call my 3-bet, and then I'm stuck playing a very big pot out of position with a hand that, you know, can flop some great hands, but it's actually a pretty weak hand post flop. Oh, so we're gonna test this guy, see if he is really a robot, because what we've seen so far is that he calls a flop bet and then insta shoves the turn, like every time. So now I've got queens. This is obviously a good time to do such a thing. So I'll just call here. Derp. And well, he kind of didn't do what I expected him to do. I'm just gonna bet like $2. It's kind of like around 2/3 spot. He calls. Obviously easy river shove. Queens. This is classic thin value. I mean, I don't care that the king rolled off. I got a 9. He could call with 8s, 7s, 6s, 4s, 3s. Lots he could call with. I mean, yeah, there's a backdoor flush draw that hit, but I don't really see him having that on table 2 over here. He does fold though. This guy doesn't actually seem bad at all. He seems pretty reasonable. Winner SSS. I haven't seen him do anything retarded yet, and that's why he's being maintaining the yellow tag, which is regular. A guy who's not a complete idiot. It's very useful to keep notes and tabs on your players. And what one player mentioned, and something I do want to implement, is take a lot more notes. I think taking a lot more notes is very useful, so you can get an idea of people's ranges. I mean, for instance, I've actually noted River Fox's ranger. If you look over here, 7/7 King Queen plus preflop. He will stack off with that range, like every time. That's really useful for me to know what kind of hands I can stack off with them happily. Suddenly Ace 10 becomes a hand that's more than okay to stack off with. Here, King 10 suited. There's a raise and a call. This is the perfect time, the universe, to squeeze. I'm going to squeeze fairly large, considering I'm out of position. I mean, this hand still flops decent to a call. I'm probably going to get an overwhelmingly large amount of folds. This is a very, very classic squeeze opportunity. I haven't been 3-betting winner much at all. He does flat. This is the whole, oh my god, these guys call too much. And it becomes a very dry board. And what I'm going to do is basically bet fold biggish. 380. I'm basically going, look dude, if he has ace king or something, you can't really call this bet. He basically has to fold. Kind of assuming he's a reasonable player, and yeah. If he's got a pocket pair, you know, obviously he's not folding there. I still might hit a king, which I'd probably assume is good if he called. If he shoves, obviously very, very easy fold. But I kind of like the bigger bet size there, because I think he might, if he had like ace queen or ace king, I think he might be inclined to float, call my bet if the bet was smaller, like half pot or something. So making it slightly larger, I'm giving myself much better chances to win the pot on such a dry board. I mean, you know, like from his perspective, when I bet that big on that dry board, I mean, it puts him in a really difficult position. Now you gotta understand that kind of play is very player specific. I mean, I think he's a reasonable player, and that's why I make that move. Against someone like Junklee, he might just shove over me with ace king. You know, if I do that kind of move, so I won't do that. Against him, I'm playing more direct. I'm going, well, I have a good hand, I'll stack off. If I don't have a good hand, I won't stack off. So there's very few players. Like, he's probably a player, but maybe not, that I can do slightly more moves on. But you know, most players here, you've just playing your cards, you know, playing well, being very aware of position. You might notice I'm very painfully aware of position. And yeah, well, look, we're out of time now. I hope you enjoyed this video. And thank you for all your criticism and feedback and support. People seem to be having fun, so expect plenty more videos in the near future. I'm definitely going to keep things going. And again, any feedback, recommendations you have, just please throw them in, and I will do my best to incorporate them. Any questions you might have. Also, I'll be looking in the near future to do something a little interesting, maybe do some kind of critique of other MicroStakes players. If they make me a video, I might do a critique of their play. That could be kind of cool, but we'll see how that goes. Anyhow, I hope you had fun. This is Angry African signing out. Have a nice day.